Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeannie. Michael and Jeannie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Today is our Memorial Day celebration 303, and our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, that puts you in queue to talk to Michael. We'd love to hear your comments and questions, and welcome, Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hi, sweetheart.
Hey.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're delighted that y'all are here, ready to go for the next level, the next piece of the puzzle in the process of learning forgiveness. Our dynamic of forgiveness has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook. If your physiology is producing some form of hostility, fear, pain, grief, the original Aramaic idea of forgiveness is how to go into yourself and remove your pain, fear, grief, sadness, rage. Actually, to get to the point where your very capacity for that is gone. And so our invitation, and when Jeannie mentions Memorial Day, that we honor those who've been forced into that insanity called war by saying and creating a project of let's put an end to war. Of course, the average mind would say that's ridiculous. You can't put an end to war. It's been around too long. It's never going to stop. Well, we have a different story to tell. And that is that the reason why our planet's in such turmoil and trauma and pain is because forgiveness has been disappeared from the planet. And when you disappear forgiveness, you leave people stuck in the cumulative trauma of the generations. And, of course, when somebody's in trauma, the natural game is to blame somebody else for it. And so what our show is about is supporting you getting out of the blame game, if that's where you've lived, and stepping into the actual process of forgiveness. That is, learning how to reach inside yourself and remove what never belonged. And, of course, what never belonged is any form of hostility or fear. How's that going to end war? Well, you ever see somebody go to war that wasn't hostile? No, it doesn't happen. We don't go attacking other people. We don't go verbally, emotionally attacking people or physically attacking people without some form of hostility or fear, which rips us off for our human lives. Our definition of a human life, hold a newborn child, you know exactly what it is. And what we're here to do is to restore human life to planet Earth. And so we invite you to be willing to take responsibility. If your physiology is still capable of producing any form of hostility or fear, join us in the process of healing. And if you want to know how that process works and you haven't acquainted yourself yet, please go to our website. It's all there free, www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. Under that section, you'll see 7 links. Well, there are actually dozens of links, but the first 7 all relate to how to change the internal dynamics of hostility or fear and get to the point where you literally remove your capacity to do that. So that's where we're heading. And, Jeannie, do we have Dr. Tim with us today? I was talking with him yesterday, and he said he wasn't sure he was going to be able to make the show. And is David with us?
David is with us. Tim is not.
Okay, Tim said he might be able to tap into the show a little later. How are you this morning or this afternoon, David?
I'm doing very well, Michael, standing here with Chuck, and it's absolutely, we were just talking about the weather here, but how fabulous that it is for this time of the year. It's just incredible, really incredible. Probably 70 degrees out there right now.
Of course, we know there's no global warming happening or anything like that, right?
I don't know. We can label it whatever the hell we want to be. I don't know. There's different points of view about all of that. Anyway. So
it's actually just springtime.
That's right.
Say it again?
I said it's just springtime.
That's right.
There you go.
Just a few months early, that's all.
Yeah.
No, spring started 3 or 4 days ago.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was April 21st spring, but maybe not. Anyway, what's going on here?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Jeannie and I have got a 3 or 4 day sabbatical. We finished last night. We had a support group here in Sarasota at Sarasota Unity, and Sunday afternoon did a support group at Unity in Tampa. So we've got a few days off before we begin a 3-day non-residential mini-intensive here in Sarasota, Florida, and then next weekend we'll begin our 9-day, the first in a series of 2 9-day back-to-back Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensives, which at this point look like they're both pretty much full. There's actually one space that someone has spoken for, and I'm waiting to hear back from him now to see if that works. So anyway, and then of course we'll be heading to Jacksonville to do a series of workshops there and getting ready for Heartland. So you can keep posted on our schedule at www.whyagain.com. So we're glad you're with us. Jeannie, do we have any callers? Our call-in number, of course, is 646-200-4169. I'm driving down the road with a friend, Dr. John Lawrence, and just had a treatment from him, an awesome chiropractor here in Sarasota, and we're on go. So any callers, Jeannie? Anything happening in the chat room for us to be aware of?
No, nobody has called in yet. I had received a couple of different emails, and Sarah's in the chat room. I'm not sure if we answered your question yesterday afternoon, Sarah, but if not, give us a call and we'll continue that conversation. And then I had someone send an email that said they were having issues with the thinking that someone outside of them had caused something they were feeling. And so I told them to call into the show and that their question was everybody's question. But if you're on there, hit 1. That lets me know that you're on the switchboard and that you want to talk. Otherwise, I think you're just out there listening.
Well, that game of the world's way of teaching us, when you get down to it, what we call the body's mind is a purely evidential device, and you can hypnotize anybody into seeing anything. And, when the ancients said transcend, they were saying put an end to the state of trance. And if you think that somebody else causes something to happen inside of you, I just invite you to notice that which is happening inside of you has been through 87 different times with 42 different people. And what's happening inside of you is happening inside of you because it's there, not because of what anybody does. Certainly, we can play the game of denial, and when we play the game of denial, we hide or we dissociate from that part of our mind that holds our pain. And then when somebody comes along and triggers it, we then use that part of our hidden brain to produce our brain's image of them, and our evidential mind says, they made me feel. Well, we're here to share with you that nobody can make you feel anything but what's already inside of you, and the person who can make you feel, seemingly, quote-unquote, hostility or fear is giving you the gift of stepping into responsibility and recognizing the reason I'm feeling hostility or fear is because it's in me. Instead of making pictures of everybody else and wanting to blame everybody else. And a question I'll often ask people when they're talking about how Charlie or Bill or Mary or Harry made them feel something, it's like, well, how long have you known Charlie? Oh, I've known him for 8 years. I said, okay, so, and how long have you been feeling this rage around Charlie? Oh, man, right from the first time I met him, Charlie could enrage me. I mean, he was so nasty, and he would just enrage me. Okay, so now let me just ask you, let's go back 9 years ago. Did you know this quality of rage? I guarantee you did, before you ever met Charlie or whoever you're currently putting it on. Let's stop playing the game of lying to ourselves and blaming everybody else for what's going on inside of us, and let's just simply own it. If I'm in the experience of rage, it's because I have rage in me. If I'm in the experience of grief, it's because I have grief in me. If I'm in the experience of fear, it's because I have fear in me. And that rage in particular is a drug with which I anesthetize myself against feeling what I don't want to be responsible for. And when you let go of the rage, 100% of the time, the mind in rage is in a state of dissociation, and it doesn't know that it's causing what it's experiencing. It has the blame game going on, and it will take out its hostility on whoever's handy. You can, think about it. Somebody, your best friend, and what happens if you happen to violate one of the infantile goals that they hold. And this state of rage comes from infantile goals. It comes from a selfish self-centeredness. Everything has to be my way right now all the time. Elsewise, I go into this state of hostility or rage. And that's the way that I anesthetize myself. If you find yourself in that place, that's where you start doing worksheets around your own selfishness, your self-centeredness. The world is not here to serve every whim you have. And, it's interesting. People can be driving down the road, and I say this from experience because I've been there, done that, and be in a fish-shaking rage because somebody in traffic does something to them. Of course, nobody in traffic does anything to you. They do what they do. Let's stop being so self-centered as to think they did it to us and recognize that when they did it, I had a goal for them, and that goal was that they serve my self-centered demands. And when they refused to do that, I go right back to that infantile state when my self-centered demands were not being served, and I blame it on somebody else. So here's the opportunity to forgive, to go inside myself, change that dynamic internally. So that's what we're here to do. So if you have some other thoughts than that, if that doesn't make sense to you, I would love to hear your sweet voice, and I'd love to hear you tell me about your thoughts. And let's see if we can work through this and where it goes. Because I'm going to offer that, yes, your mind will show you absolutely that the rage comes from outside of you. Infantile, self-centered. And it's time for us to function as human beings in every circumstance rather than out of that dissociated hostility or fear. So if whoever was writing that in the chat room has some conversation about that, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 646-200-4169. If you and I were sitting in a room together and I said what I just said, would you have a comment for me? Would you have a question? Would you tell me I'm crazy? Well, if you have that thought, I'll ask you to withhold the crazy part, but I'll invite you to pick up the phone and call us, and let's have a conversation and see if we can get to a new place with understanding how this human mind of ours works and how to change the dynamics that are in it. 646-200-4169. Gene, we have any callers? Anything happening in the chat room?
Nope, all is quiet. Nope, all is quiet. Can you hear me? Oh, we do have a hand up.
Awesome.
Area code 954, you're on.
954.
Hi, Michael. This is Sarah again.
Welcome. Glad you're back.
Thank you. The question had been about casting out the demons and moving your life forward. And this was, something that you had been able to extract out of the Beatitudes, particularly the Aramaic original intention of Jesus. And, let's just say that I'm aware of situations where someone may think that they're so stuck by perhaps karma or whatever that they can't move their life forward. or that they have been getting attacked by demons that are in the non-physical, coming at them. And what you gave a really good example, and I think it was in the class that I heard you live, where you mentioned this lady that had been to one of your classes, and she came home from her job one evening and went into her apartment, and guess who was there? An intruder with a knife, with the intention to rape her and kill her. And this lady was pretty convinced that she was just going to go ahead and die, but she goes, oh, well, since I'm going to die anyway, why don't I just go into massive love, so therefore I can die in love? And so she did that. Somehow she did it. And then she looked at the person's face that was about to rape her, and he had so much terror in him. And when she just radiated the love to him, he couldn't do it. And he dropped, he left. He left in a hurry. So we don't know what he did later, but he couldn't do that then. And it just seems like, even if the demons are coming at you from the non-physical, and if they don't have a place to resonate inside of you because you have cleaned out the hostility, the fear, the rage, the anger, the doubt, and you just keep cleaning that out of your being, they don't have a place to land inside of you, and they can't bother you. Not the physical ones, not the non-physicals.
Well, it doesn't really matter, physical or non-physical. When I am in a state of denial and dissociation, I set up an internal, what in the ancient Aramaic would be called the demon. The demons are a fabrication of the Greek mind. The Greek mind wanted to externalize and make physical things out of everything. In the Aramaic, there is no difference between the internal and the external. It's all connected. It's all one. If you listen to Einstein, says if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. And actually, the young lady that you're speaking about had done a workshop series, and she really keyed into the words that we use in the workshop that are conscious, active, present love. And actually, the fellow who had the knife to her throat was in the act of raping her when this occurred, and she found herself hearing the echo of the words conscious, active, present love in her brain, and that's when she flipped into this state of compassion and connectedness. And even the fact that she was about to be murdered really didn't matter to her. She went into total compassion for this guy, and that's when he literally began to cry, dropped his knife, and ran out of her apartment. It saved her life. And so whatever the issue is that needs to be dealt with, we live in an energetic world, and we want to distinguish between physical, non-physical, and it's really easy to stay in denial when you play the game of, well, something that nobody else can see is out to get me. It's like, okay, so let's imagine there's something out there that's out to get you that nobody can see. How about if you just remove the receptor site that you have, the antenna, for them to be able to get you? And the way that you do that is through the act of forgiveness. Again, forgiveness being the way that you remove content from your own physiology. And so to drill down into the parts of the mind that most people never even look at is the whole idea of the forgiveness process and the core tool that we teach, the Reality Management Worksheet. So that's what we're here to do. You got it.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, this is, right, just thank you. About the whole thing about taking responsibility, and staying in the present and keep putting love back in and say, no, I don't want to do hostility. I don't want to do fear. I don't want to do anger and hatred. I just those things, and I'll do the writing exercise to clean it out and keep replacing love down in there, and continue to invite the Holy Spirit in, that three-dimensional aspect of the Holy Spirit, you feel it come in. Feel it come in through the crown chakra. And it starts working all through your body. And if it can go in through the crown chakra, you can feel it there. You know it's going. It could get into other parts of your being, like your soul, let's say. Right?
Well, and when one gets really clear that they don't want to do hostility and don't want to do fear and don't want to do rage, focusing is a creative act, and that's exactly what they're going to end up in, is that hostility, that fear, and that rage. So the language we use, the man named Yeshua, understanding the power of vibration and frequency, said that the power of life and death is in our words, and that words based in hostility and fear literally create frequencies of death. Words based in human life create frequencies of life. When we're really clear what we want to get away from and what we don't want to do, then we're heading toward it. That's how to get on the train toward it. All you have to do is engage in the frequency. Whether you engage in it, whether you love it or because you hate it, doesn't matter. You're moving there. That's why Yeshua said, resist not evil. If you go against and you get real clear, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that, that's precisely because that's your energetic focus where you're going to go. What we're suggesting is you take the worksheet process. If you notice yourself in some form of hostility or fear, you're able to acknowledge it, and then you go through the forgiveness process to remove it. In our support group last night, we had a young lady who was in a lot of trauma, had seen herself going through relationship situation after relationship situation, and what she did her worksheet on, she was kind of in the support group, the sample person, and what she did her worksheet on was remembering when she was 6 years of age, and then a whole series of events from then on, where every time she would come down in the morning, I guess they lived in a 2-story house, and she'd come down in the morning, and her father would berate her for how ugly she was.
Oh.
And the trauma involved in that was pretty heavy duty. When she got to the end of the worksheet, she was literally laughing at that statement and that trauma, and her words were, her insight when she got to step number 6 was how silly it was that she's wasted, I don't know, maybe she's 40 years of age, that she's wasted decades focused on a father who was in such trauma that he couldn't see the beauty around him, and how she took it on personally. And literally in a single worksheet. Now, will there be other layers come up for her around that? I don't know, quite possibly. But she got to the point where an hour later she's able to laugh at it and recognize how silly it was. And so that's the idea of doing the forgiveness process, and that's what we're here to support. So we thank you for your call, and we appreciate your input. And, Jeannie, do we have any other call? Okay, blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.
646-200-4169 is our call-in number. If you have any other questions, thoughts, answers, ideas.
There are no other questions yet. Oh, 1 minute. A hand just went up. Area code 541, you're on the air.
Hello, Michael. It's Julie. Hello, Jeannie. It's Julie from Ashland, Oregon.
Hey there, young lady. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I want to let you know that I am doing a lot of work in any way that it shows up for me. So the worksheets are part of it, and I want to acknowledge how helpful everything I've learned from you was for me on Saturday. I was in a workshop teaching us how to remove things from ourselves, okay? And a really huge body pain came up and a lot of anger and hatred. And I got through it using the tools that they were showing us, but I was mostly resisting their methods and sticking to Ruka Dakutsha, and it feels just as bad going out as it did going in. And I was breathing a lot, and I wasn't traumatized by it. I saw it all as an opportunity to remove carbon-based memory that I had been carrying around, and it was always there, the fear, the hostility, the hatred, the rage, but I I couldn't get at it, couldn't get at how huge it was. So I know that working with Ruka the Kucha and working with love and allowing things to dissolve is so gentle and caring and loving that I've been guided and led step by step, until I could face the big thing, and it's not, I'm not making it significant or big. It was just there, and I was being driven by it quite a bit. And so now that's all kind of like vague maybe, but specifically I went into a kind of a past life thing, which I don't dwell on past life things, but I become aware of how maybe a movie that I see will really trigger like a fear or some sort of response that is not comfortable. And so it resonates, in such a way that I must be holding something about that, and I look into it. And so I just want to acknowledge that all the brain cells and, listening to every radio show that I listen to and, just living this, my commitment to living this, the worksheets show up, the opportunities show up for me to use one tool or another that I've learned from you and safely get through anything. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate that I was able to have a huge release, because I have never breathed as well as I breathe now after getting through that. And a huge band of body tension around my kind of heart and solar plexus area, rib area, that it just all went away. So I don't know what will be next, because I'm committed to all levels of healing, however they show up. But
that's awesome. Nice work.
Yeah. Thank you. So I am encouraging everyone to, when I first came to your work, I was only looking at your specific worksheets, but you have worksheets for every DVD that you've made, pretty much every one. So I was using the mind shifters quite a bit, and the still point breathing came in when I was in this process, so I was just overseeing it with gentle awareness, even though my body was really experiencing pain, but I just kept breathing and kept seeing what was there. It was really neat. So, thank you. That's it.
Very cool. Glad to be on the team. And just for those who are listening, just to help to build some more brain cells around the whole idea that Julie's talking about, is we teach a way to use the breath that we call still point breathing. And when you hold the breath is a catalyst for trauma. In the same way that heat is a catalyst for the state of water. We know water in 3 different states. It's H2O, and it's in a puddle form. If we take away the catalyst heat, that puddle becomes seemingly solid, physical, hard, and real, a block of ice. If we add heat back to the ice, we add heat back to the water, it will keep stepping up its rate of vibration until the water becomes steam. It's still H2O. In one case, it's very solid, local, and seemingly physical. In the other case, it's seemingly non-physical, and it's easy for it to escape. In precisely the same way, the breath is the catalyst for trauma in the human system. If we go through a traumatic experience and we withdraw the breath, it's like taking heat away from water. It solidifies, it becomes local in the tissue, and is locked in. When you add the breath back, you have the opportunity to move that out of the tissue, to liberate the tissue from whatever's been stored there. It literally burns it off. And we've seen every kind of pain, hatred, rage, vengeance, grief, trauma literally disappear in minutes when the breath is used properly. So thanks for bringing that up. It's just such an awesome tool, isn't it?
It is. It's like the instant worksheet in a pinch, and it reminds you as soon as you inhale give yourself the loving breath again, it puts you into the filter of love, actually. It's such a reminder.
For sure, It does do it.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm going to go on mute so I don't make a lot of noise in the background now. But I hope someone else is there. And I hope that helps Sarah a little bit. You know, another thing I remember you talking about with regard to demons and, you know, the witch doctor theory. You know, oh gosh, I'm getting another call, but it's distracting me. But you know what we believe in, if we believe in the power of those demons over us, you know. And so actually that's what I saw in my past life remembrance, is that I knew that everything they were doing to me, at me, that I was angry about, was just such a hoax, you know. And so anytime I see something that appears to me as a hoax, I get agitated. I used to. I think I know where it comes from now, and I don't need to go into the rage. But anyway, I'm kind of being vague because I'm distracted. But maybe you could retell that story if you don't have another caller about that kind of energetic devotion that we give to witch doctors and demons and all these fearful, you know, things that are just propaganda of someone else's attempt to control our being.
That's the game of the world, is to take over your creative process and have you engaging in things that have no relativity to you whatsoever until you engage in them energetically. And, you know, if you go back into the Aramaic, where it says perfect love casts out fear, you know, you cast out demons. That fear, that's one of the primary demons that most of the world promotes. And they promote the demon fear under the guise of love. Now, you listen to Yeshua, and he says, fear not, fear not, fear not. He says that so many times. And then he informs us that it's his condition of perfect love that casts out fear. And yet we have people supposedly preaching in his name who are telling us to fear or inspiring fear. And it's just time for us to let that stuff go and get back to our human lives. And that human life is the active presence of love. When we get tricked into something else, then we're in trouble. And it's time for us to give up that something else and be returned to the true human expression that we are, which is this awesome active presence of love. So thank you for reminding us of that and bringing that to the forefront, Julie. We appreciate the work you're doing with people out in your area of the country, and every support group that's working around the globe is awesome to watch it develop and how it's moving through people's worlds and lives. Very cool. How is Ed doing, by the way?
Oh, hi. Ed is, well, you know, he's seriously grabbing the bull by the horns. He's not leaving any stone unturned. He's not doing worksheets, and, you know, he's not doing everything the way I think he should do it, but he's doing it his way. He got a huge wake-up call, and he's once again shifting to better diet and better instructions for supporting his healing, and mostly working on his soul, learning to love and give and receive himself, you know, love himself.
Very cool. Well, let him know that we hold the space and we beam that support and love toward him, and we'll look forward to the next time that we hear your sweet voice. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Michael. You're welcome.
Okay, buddy. Take care. Gina, do we have any other callers? Anything happening in the chat room?
Sarah in the chat room said, thank you, Julie. Yes, that helps. And love you. Love to you. So nobody has their hand up. 646-200-4169. Press 1. It lets us know you have a question or a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Cool. So if we were sitting face-to-face somewhere, or if we just finished a workshop, would you be wanting to ask me a question? And if you would, now's the time. There is no question too small. People say, oh, well, it's just a silly question. No, actually, every question's important, and every question is everybody's question. And so when we are there with and for each other, those questions that we have to ask open the space for everybody who has similar questions but perhaps isn't asking or doesn't even know that they have those questions. So if you have a comment or a question for us, if anything that we're saying doesn't make sense or you need a deeper understanding of it, we would love to hear your voice. We would love to chat with you about the idea of forgiveness, removing what never belonged from human physiology. Imagine a world where no matter what anybody else does, no matter what anybody else says, no matter what happens, you simply claim and live your human life. You live as this awesome active presence of love. Would your world change if that's what you were doing? Well, that change is not only possible but natural. Without the tools, it seems impossible. But once you've got the tools and you put them to work, all of a sudden it becomes doable. And living as the presence of love in every circumstance. Now, you're not going to be the presence of love in every circumstance in the next instant. It's a process. It takes time. It takes work. It takes going in and deleting the generational beliefs in hostility or fear and living as you were designed to live, as this awesome active presence of love that you are. If you ever forget who you are, imagine holding a newborn child. That's who you and I are. That is how we're designed to function, what we're designed to function out of. And so if you find a situation in your life where it seems like that, well, that's certainly not who I am, that's certainly not how I function, then would you ask yourself the question, why not? Why aren't you functioning as that? Well, you know, in my family system, when this happened, we just raged at each other, and that's the natural way to do it, isn't it? No, that's the non-human way to do it. A so-called human body without the active presence of love is not a human life. A human life is this awesome active presence of love, and that's what we're looking to create. That's what we're looking to support you in functioning as 24/7, 365 in every arena of your life. Is there a place where you can't, where it seems impossible for you to function as love? Well, then pick up the phone and call us, and let's see if we can support you in learning how to function as that awesome presence of love in that situation or that circumstance. Jeannie, do you have any thoughts, any questions, answers, or do you have anything to bring up? Do you have anything to share with us?
No, not really.
Well, you had looked at doing a worksheet last night in the support group as I came back in the room and you were teaching, and you put forward, oh, well, I was just filling in the space. Have you looked any further into that issue and what that looked like?
I did the worksheet on it last night as we were doing the class.
And would you care to share what came up for you, where that ended up, if that's appropriate? If it's not, that's cool too.
Well, mainly what came up was I found where I had shifted power people, and that happens in our life. It starts out maybe being a parent, and then it shifts to someone else, and how I would do things, and I see my son doing the same thing when something's maybe not according to plan, is making an excuse. I don't have the worksheet in front of me here, so I don't know exactly what I wrote down, but like making an excuse for it. It's almost like feeling guilty for being able to do something that perhaps someone else feels like maybe I shouldn't do or shouldn't be qualified to do. And it also goes along with, like especially in my son I see, where if he thinks he's done something wrong, if he puts himself down before somebody else has a chance to do it, then it's like the punishment subsides, like it doesn't come down on him as hard. And I see that I do the same thing. And so it's like if I step into a role, and I did this at school, at work, at home, it's been a long time thing, that I'm not supposed to be better than or as good as somebody else. And so instead of being put in my place by somebody else, I like jump the bullet and put myself into place.
Well, my offering to you is that you are an awesome genius with awesome capabilities, and there are many things in our world and in our lives that you do better than I do, and I love it and appreciate it when you do. And when you get up to speak, the space that you hold, the way that you teach, I know that you come from a religious tradition that women aren't supposed to be teachers, especially of men, and you are absolutely fabulous at that. And so I live for the day that every time you open your mouth, you outshine me in your teaching, and bring that forward into my space and into the space of others, because I know that when I listen to you teach, I am also in a learning mode, and appreciate the way that you do that. It's pretty powerful. Are you breathing?
I am.
Oh, good. Cool. Any other thoughts about that one?
Not right now, no.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's powerful stuff. So our calling number is 646-200-4169. How do you live a life free of sadness, of grief, of rage, of hatred, of vengeance, if that's the world you've been born and raised in? Our offering is, the way that you do that is through forgiveness. Not letting other people off the hook because that's what's happening in you, but rather reaching inside yourself and removing what never belonged in you. What never belonged in your human form is any form of hostility or fear. No such thing was designed for you. You were not designed for anything that looks like any form of hostility or fear. And as you recognize that, you have the opportunity to start to remove what never belonged. And we're here to support every person who listens to the show being able to process through whatever it is that blocks you from the full experience of the natural genius that you are. You know, one of the messages of the world is, well, you're not a genius. Like how many people were given the message when they were kids, you're stupid. When the truth is that if you were given a human life, you are an absolute genius. Every human life is genius by definition. That's just the stuff we're made of. And as you recognize that, you have a chance to start to change those parts of your mind and heal those parts of your mind that hold something less than love as your state. And in so doing, you get to bring forward what's designed to live through these human forms. We are not these human forms. We are the being that inhabit these human forms. And your being, my being, is awesome beyond measure. But of course, if you live in a world where some authority, whether it's a parent, religious leader, political leader, business leader, doesn't want geniuses standing in front of them, they want stupid people who don't know the truth and don't know how to function, then they'll brainwash them with stupid functions. And just like a computer, when you put a function in the computer will just unfold that function automatically. And it will seem like, well, that must just be a natural function of the computer. No, it's not a natural function of the computer. But if you structure into a computer's memory base or memory bank 2 plus 2 equals 5, every time you call on 2 plus 2, it'll spit out what's there until you correct it. Forgiveness is the process of correction. Forgiveness is the process of removing the hostility and fear that dumbs us down and being restored to the truth of who we are. And here's the truth of you. You're the awesome presence of love. If somebody gives you the look, if somebody doesn't instantly obey your every wish and your every demand, do you give up your awesome presence of love and function as something different? Then we're here to support that changing. We're here to support you moving back to your humanness, which is the true genius and the love that is your presence, and functioning out of that. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to support you in. So if you have a question, a thought, or an answer, an idea around that, we'd love to hear your voice. 646-200-4169. Just call. Yes, sweetie.
Okay, we have 2 callers.
Area
code 970, you're on the air.
Hey, Jeannie and Michael. It's Carrie in Colorado.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Hey there, Carrie in Colorado.
I just love what Jeannie shared, and, I think probably, I don't even think I know a person who, especially maybe in the older generations, who didn't get some kind of, being put down as a child, and I'll get choked up just saying it because I know I did. And I think I read a statement by Einstein the other day that said, we're all geniuses. It's just, what one person's skills are is not going to look like a genius to the person who has other skills, but we all are brilliant in our own ways. And I think to recover that is just probably one of our greatest legacies as humans. And I'm so grateful for this work. I'm sorry for crying, y'all. It just triggered me to hear Jeannie. And I just didn't mean to be crying here. I just wanted to also share that I've had a couple of really neat opportunities. I've kind of wondered, there's so much to this, and yet it also can be said in really simple ways. And so I've had a couple of experiences today of a person who I was doing some work for who was very distraught about some things that were going on in their lives. And I said, just breathe. It'll relieve your stress. And that's what Jesus told us in the ancient Aramaic. And it wasn't like I had to explain everything to her. But just I've been kind of asking myself, how can I share this with people just in a simple, everyday way if there isn't an opportunity to give the whole story. And then I had another friend who called this morning and was crying and very upset about always feeling put down by her family. And I just told her to breathe, and I told her about your website and this work, and I know she's a person of action. She'll definitely check it out. And I told her how much it's changed me in the last few months. But I just we had a really great talk, and we were both crying and both breathing, and just that, I think when I'm sorry, when one of us is accessing that deeper pain and wanting to change it, and we can just reach out a hand to each other and just with a couple of thoughts without having to tell every detail of how to do this, but just to remind the person to breathe and to center in love and I talked to her through really quick, how to forgive and cancel the old pain and to call in Ruka Dakusha and, just to be able to share it in a simple way and to remember that we can do that. I think that's what I've been experiencing the last couple of days. And I think everybody, as we reorient our minds and our hearts to thinking in the way we're really designed to. These tools are just
So, Carrie,
yeah.
who told you that you weren't supposed to cry, that there was something wrong with? I noticed that you instantly, if a tear starts to move or an emotion starts to come up, you instantly apologize for that. That might be a good worksheet topic. Because I'm feeling something, I have to apologize for myself.
Yeah, I think I know right where it came from.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
I know right where it came from. It came from, my childhood and my dad. So is that your next 77 times 70 worksheet project? I guess so. Yep. And I know when I let myself cry, I do access whatever's underneath there, and I know even that is a tool of releasing and bringing things to awareness and making them something that can become visible to my conscious mind, so that I can do the canceling process with it.
So it sounds like this idea of being in a family system where you're not allowed to have feelings might be a good worksheet topic. That, in fact, it might be your 77 times 70 worksheet issue to give yourself permission to have feelings and to express those feelings.
Yeah,
it's an awesome thing.
Good. Yeah, that sounds really good. I have a pile of worksheets here. I'll start right away. Oh, man.
Well, we've had the space, and we're here to support you.
Thank you so much. And again, I just wanted to say how I'm really enjoying noticing that I can share aspects of this in really simple ways with people, even without having to get out a worksheet. Although that would be a great next step. But to just initiate something, even if a person isn't quite ready to hear the whole thing, to just help them grasp a little bit of the concept. So anyway, you guys have an awesome day. And
Okay. And I'm just thinking, did I text you the address to send another case of books to? Have I done that yet?
There's an osteopath that I'm supposed to meet tonight at 6. And
Carrie?
Yeah.
And, I thought it was you.
Did I text you that
I think
address?
we're hearing John talking in the background.
I don't think you did.
Okay, good. I'm glad they're on the way because they're impacting people, and it's delightful to get them out there and into people's hands.
Yeah, I don't think you texted me the address, though, yet. If you will text it, I will send them.
Fabulous. We'll do that.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Jeannie, did you have another call? Let's go for it.
Yes, we do. Area code 813, you're on the air.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Michael. My name is Susan, and I'm calling from Tampa. Hi, thank you. I'm calling from Tampa, Florida. I was in the forgiveness workshop last, maybe it was Sunday, and then a few nights last week. And I need some postgraduate work. So I think this thing I'm struggling with, and I emailed your wife. I'm sorry, your first name slips me. I emailed you this morning, and I said, "Wow, even though I even was able to go to sleep and hear you saying things like as soon as those words "you made me" come up, then it has nothing really to do with that person. But I am really struggling with actually somebody I was in the workshop with." Is not talking to me, and so right away, we had a bit of an upset, and so right away, my first thought that I'm really struggling with is, she's making me feel a certain way. I took out my worksheet, actually, and I didn't write it, but I filled in. Actually, it was exactly what I had filled in because it was about the same person. I filled it in about the person's name, what I thought it was making me feel, but I'm not as upset as I have been in the past when this situation comes up, but I'm still having a hard time not putting it on her. It's still, you know what I mean? I call it my smart self seems to know that, okay, somebody else isn't making me feel this way, but really, truly in my heart, it still feels like if she would just talk to me or do something differently, then I wouldn't feel this way. So I just wanted to call in and talk a little bit about that. Awesome.
That's great. How long have you known this person?
I've known her for about 5 or 6 months. We've had a pretty complicated relationship, truthfully. I have really, I guess it doesn't matter. We're not mentioning names. Yeah, I have wanted a different type of relationship with her than she with me, so we've been struggling through that. And but it really has only been, really, to answer your question directly, it's really just been like 6 months.
So if you think back 7 months ago.
Yes.
This feeling that you're saying she causes in you?
Yes.
Did you know this feeling intimately 7 months ago?
Interesting. Well, I haven't had this feeling. I'm not going to say I've never had it triggered, but I haven't had it triggered for a long time that I can remember. I can't remember having it triggered because I haven't been in an intimate either friendship or otherwise relationship where somebody could trigger it. So it's not to say that it would not have triggered or did in the past. It's just it hasn't in the recent past, like in the last, well, at least in the last couple of years, I haven't had that, or a few years, I haven't had these feelings.
So notice that you've got a really long story to try to avoid saying, yeah, I knew this feeling intimately before I met her.
Okay.
Is that true? And if you let all the story go, and if you listen to your own words before I asked that question, I noticed that you said, well, I haven't been as upset now as I have been in the past when this happens. So it sounds to me like the just plain blank, if you're in a courtroom and the only answer you give was a yes or no, the answer would have to be yes, I knew this feeling very intimately. And
I think that's probably the bottom line. I think what I was trying to tell you is I'm doing better with it this week than I have been over the last 5 months. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm sure I've had it before.
Okay. So then to recognize that your mind can trick you, if you don't go near the person who can resonate those brain cells,
right,
you're not going to feel what's in there.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean it's not there. It's just that if I stay away from the people who are, I can pretend it's not there.
Right, okay.
And so once I recognize that I'm the one who was there every time it happened, then I can start to break through my mind's hallucination that it's about them, and I want to simply tell myself the simple truth. Yes, this is an old friend, this feeling, and I'm ready to be done with it. And we're getting down to the point where the show is just about complete. We've only got about another 45 seconds or so.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to let that thought go at this point. However, I would be absolutely delighted to continue the process tomorrow on the show. If you want to call in right at 1 o'clock, we'll make you the first caller, and let's get into it on a deeper level.
All right. That sounds great, Michael. I appreciate it. I'll call you back.
Okay, I'm delighted to hear your voice. Thanks for the call. Blessings. And everybody, take the tools. Bring a stranger with you to the show tomorrow and create the best year yet of your eternal life. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeannie, who present that internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeannie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeannie, please visit www.ryces.com. whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.